What's going on, gamers? We got an interesting video here. Actually, you know what? I don't need this. The funny thing here, guys, is that after what Asha said yesterday about adjusting to the future on logos being displayed for coming to other platforms, he had something to say from IGN. As we know, Ryan McCaffrey's from there, but just in general, he came to comment. And this is interesting because what he's saying is exactly what needs to be talked about for sure. Xbox fanboys like being brainwashed and lied to. Ryan McCaffrey says, this is comedy go. This is what he says. He says, is doing what Sony does really any more helpful to gamers? Though, interesting statement. Meaning, pretend a game doesn't exist on other platforms on your showcase when in fact it does. Because Sony wants more sales on their platform, right? Sony can do that though. But we've known they've done this before, yes. Who does that help? Only them and their platform, for sure. But they're not in the Xbox situation. But the idea is advertising for PlayStation, get the most sales on PlayStation, get the most third-party revenue. You know what I mean? But for the Xbox community, it's a different thing. You need that to be advertised on PlayStation because you want to get as many pre-orders on PlayStation. And you want to get as many pre-orders on Nintendo or Steam. I mean, it's good, and you're just being honest and transparent. I don't see that necessarily being a bad thing. It's different when it's your exclusive, and it's different when it's not your exclusive. I can understand what he's trying to say. That's basically what he's saying to a certain extent. Like, if it's not your exclusive, Sony, why are you doing that? Going down, he says, exclusives are another matter. Exactly. But if it's multi-platform, why try to convince anyone otherwise? Meaning, why do you lie to them? Why is it a bad thing that you want Microsoft to not show logos? And I'm about to reverse this again. That you want Microsoft to not show logos for Xbox games, for PlayStation, and for Nintendo when the base is massively bigger. The Nintendo base does not have a subscription to buy first-party games for Switch or Switch 2. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be missing out on marketing on way bigger businesses. From a business standpoint. On PlayStation, you're going to be missing out on the biggest third-party market in the industry. Why would you not want your product to get massive reach on that market? It's like saying, please feed my delusional Xbot ego so that you can miss out on publishing power and sales, and so that I can imagine that it's going to be an exclusive on Xbox. Yeah, that's what they're saying. And I'm not going to buy it. Please just put it on Game Pass, though, so I can just hit the play button. I don't want to buy anything. But please, market it only on Xbox, where we don't buy any games. No, what are you doing? This is the funny thing is, guys, because I had to make another video about this because the Xbox CEO is being called out by multiple people. It's interesting. Not necessarily because they're necessarily just only mad at her, but just more about, like, why would you want to lie to them then and adjust? Why are you catering to morons who can't understand this? There's the cult fanaticism, and then there's her, with the hear you and all this. What are you doing? You can tell you're inexperienced, and you should not be doing that. As a matter of fact, start ignoring them. It's probably better that you do that, because they're not that smart. I think we can figure that out. Not that hard to figure out. So the thing is that, yes, these Xbox fanboys, maybe not everybody on their platform, but obviously these people on Twitter all day like being lied to and want to feel an illusion of something because they really want Xbox to have what PlayStation has and Nintendo has. And I do the flip-flop because you guys know why I do this. All before this, in the Phil Spencer era, it was okay bashing exclusives, but all badness. And then they just turned around and did a 180. And it's like, what are we doing here, right? And then just gullible and eat up anything. Like, they meant to hear you. She's doing this. She's a savior. And I'm like, oh my God, man, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Did you really believe that was going to happen? AGN was the one trying to tell you that. I wasn't trying to bash Xbox. The whole time, they think I'm coming here to bash Xbox. Talking about this Dreamcast guy stuff, all this. No. All I'm doing is I'm killing all the lies and the BS. Because if you want to improve a business, you need to face reality, and you need integrity, and you need somebody that's actually going to be honest and transparent with you. How do you know how much this company needs to grow if everybody's hiding numbers from you 24/7? And that's the problem here. It's like you don't see that that's what they do, and then they switch up and they give you all these roadmaps and they never follow through with it. I mean, it's just inconsistent, and they can't do anything consistent to where, how do you believe something will be revived? That's like saying it's constantly growing and everybody's making intelligent decisions. And she's some genius you've never seen before. She's about to embarrass Phil Spencer, make him look like this and that. I'm like, this is all copium. What are you talking about? That's not what's going on. We're not seeing any real improvements. Like I said, you can't outsell Switch 1. Switch 1 is doubling your sales. Last month, you couldn't even sell 100K. Switch 2 was at 200-something thousand. How did it double your console sales? I mean, I'm just saying. So we see this right here, right? Let's get back to this. Going down to the post, the gaming grindhouse. You know this guy likes gifts. Xbox fans have been telling her they do not want logos and exclusives since February. How does she let Booty in-house interview happen? Yeah, Matt Booty came on there and said that. Do you think that she didn't know that? This is what I'm saying the whole time. They're just... Wake up, that's what I'm saying. And they asked specifically to let people know the logos will be there. She knew, yes, of course. And she's sitting there saying, hear you, and doing all that. Yeah, man, I hear you talking. You know what I mean? What is that supposed to mean, though? That just shows how slow that community is. Because they really believed all of this. Then you got people like Tim Dog that probably wanted to help because he has such love for Xbox, but I know he knew too. And I've seen what he's been saying, like he's had enough again. And I like Tim Dog, you know what I mean? He's fought for Xbox in a lot of ways. And there's some people that probably just want to support you as long as they can, but they know that those lies are there. You know what I mean? Like, they know certain things, but they wanted that to come back. And I'm not saying you can't have your fantasies. I'm not saying you can't dream. I'm not saying it's bad to think that Xbox exclusives should come back and they can compete again. Dude, there's nothing bad with thinking that. But the reality is that AGM was just trying to tell you and pull down the curtain every time and say, look, man, here's the Wizard of Oz truth. You know, it's like, I'm sorry, but yeah, you're going to be disappointed. Spidey says, and so we got some other comments to get to. Hang around. And Spidey says, and so many crying idiotic green turds in the comments. Oh man, of them believing every word she says when they never understand that corporate executives aren't their friends and never will be. For sure, she's AI. They get lied to constantly and still bootlick that crap brand. Pathetic. Hey man, you know what? I have to say it, bro, because at this point, you know, it's like, yeah, guys, get ready for maybe some funny stuff you might see, but we're not gonna we're not gonna get to that yet. Okay, here was somebody else who came to call her out. All right, we got Mr. Prince Ty Balt over here saying Microsoft and the new Xbox team needs to stop the BS. You're not Xbox fanboys friends. You're not. You never were. Don't make the parasocial mistakes that Phil Spencer and his team made. Yeah, they'll come in, they'll take the pictures with you and do all this and that, but it's like at the end of the day, it's kind of part of the job. I'm not saying Phil Spencer wasn't emotionally invested into the Xbox brand. He definitely does love it, and he definitely wanted to compete and win. But outside of all that stuff, like what Bond all them, yeah, that was all parasocial. It is like that. You're running a business, not a cult. Hey, man, but you know, cult of personality, if y'all know about that. But, you know, hey, man, I mean, that's what this is turned into, man. Look at sports. It's all like that, man. Going to stadium, people yelling like crazy, the whole thing. You try to talk to them, they're not even there. It's just, you know, fanatic state. Pandering to a diminishing market is how they're in this mess. 100%. And here's the thing. He's just kind of like being realistic again about the problem here is that your parasocial behavior is not going to reflect positive net growth, positive Game Pass growth, positive first-party sales, exclusives coming back. Xbox hardware is now doubling Switch 1 sales and getting up next to the PlayStation. It's like, you could do all that, but when the results come in, you're just going to get made fun of because then that just means that I'm playing with you. And I'm saying all these things to you, but nothing real is going to be happening. Nothing has gotten better statistically. You just made a reverse decision, but you still are nowhere back to where you were when it was $19.99, and definitely when it was $14.99, when you were trying to get to that 40 million. No, it got worse. Broken Bullet says, nah, it's simple. Be like PlayStation and Nintendo's. I would love for you to show me where in their shows they show Xbox logos. Dude, they have the base to do that. They have the exclusive identity, definitely Nintendo. Why do they need to do that when they want the most sales? It's not realistic to think that Xbox is going to provide those same results with the same install base and the same exclusive identity and power. It's like, bro, no, they need those markets because they're way bigger than their market, and those markets are very alive. So you need to put your products over there and do a much better job. And they're not mass advertising their first-party games like that. Nintendo would never do that. Sony, they tried on a certain extent, but it's still about PlayStation. So this guy says Xbox has been terminally ill since the days of Xbox One. The sales of Xbox One were previously or perilously low. The sales of Series are even lower. Look, if your device sold 58 million, that's not a failure. I actually think that's good considering where they were at. But if they would have had a better generation, man, I imagine. But the Series sales are, yeah, they're not good. Nothing they have done has addressed the decline. PC Day One eroded their base. Game Pass Day One has eroded their sales, everything, but probably bolstered their software sales. Sadly, Game Pass almost certainly wiped out any sales volume they gained from going to PC. Game Pass isn't sustainable in its current format. It's not even going to have. I'm not even going to have that discussion. To reverse the Xbox console's fate would involve a massive amount of pump priming and financial loss, and it might not be reversible. Exactly. Look, this is actually a really good post because he's actually 100% correct. It's like, no. This is literally what's going on here. Seriously. Don't get too stuck on it. Okay, Rap has something to say here. Then we got another call out we got to get to. Sony and Nintendo use publishing primarily to drive hardware sales, ecosystem engagement, and platform growth. Their games are strategic assets designed to make PlayStation and Nintendo hardware more valuable for consumers. And they're also a huge part of their company. What do you think Nintendo gaming is to the Nintendo company? 90%? You know what I mean? Look at the movies now in theme parks. So it's like, no, maybe more than that. So Sony said their PlayStation is now 60% of the company. Do you think that Xbox is even 10% of Microsoft's revenue or of the company? Maybe at one point that could have been possible, but realistically, no, not. You see what I mean? So it's like, there's a different thing here. Like when Dreamcast fell, that hurt Sega big time. Xbox failing is not going to hurt Microsoft. They were failing so bad, they went to grab another 70 billion for Activision, then another 10 billion for Bethesda, and then billions and billions more. You see what I mean? How's that company hurt? That's where I say that no. So you think they care? No, they do not. They care about no damn hardware. So the question isn't, do they publish elsewhere? The question is, what is the primary purpose of their publishing business? For Sony and Nintendo, publishing exists to support their hardware ecosystems. For Xbox, publishing has become the business itself, along with Game Pass. That's why Xbox is behaving like a third-party publisher today, while Sony and Nintendo remain fundamentally first-party platform holders. That's why I like this, because this guy is actually saying something intelligent. It's not about how many cultists come in and agree with him, because that's what it becomes sometimes, or manipulated or bot likes or whatever, however you want to look at it, or bot it, all that, you know. It's more like it's a good post because he's saying, yeah, this is literally how it works. And he's coming to talk about the logo and then exclusives and sales. And I get what he's saying, because it really is like this. This is the best method for Microsoft. You can dream about exclusives, but it doesn't help because you're just in a state of decay that is very hard. I don't even know if it could reverse, like somebody turned into a zombie and you think you're going to turn back to a human being. And the Xbox hardware is in that state. It's like, I don't know. You're going to have to drop it down by like $200. And you think they're going to do that in this market right now? Look at what Valve did, man. It's like, no, it's not going to happen. Let's not be BS over here. Okay, so we saw that right there. Here goes the next one right here. Marlon comes in and he has to say something to her. You guys ready? He says, Asha's first big mistake. If Matt Booty gave the interview today providing information on how things are, then that's exactly it, period. That's what I'm saying. It was just straight up letting you know. Like I said, the signs were there. I've been saying it. The Fable developers, Playground Games, came out and said it. They'll let you know what's going on with the PlayStation Halo t-shirt. I mean, she even said, you know, she should have, the amount of times she's commented on exclusives, I'm like, what are we doing here? That's why I was making those flip-flop videos. She just shouldn't have said anything. Providing information on how things are, then that's exactly it, period. Stop coming to Twitter to give attention to any spark from that nosy minority. Xbox fans act like spoiled children, and they're not that bright. Removing the logos from events won't make any difference if the games end up launching on other platforms just the same. You'll just be hurting your advertising on the platform at a huge show. Why would you want to do that? That's mass marketing to sell your game big time over there. They can go pre-order right then and there. Events need transparency and fans ask for things from the heart, but it's necessary to use your head to make these decisions. Asha, get off X a bit. And then you're going to always have somebody to come in and say the same thing like this. I disagree with you. Sony and Nintendo don't put logos, so why does Xbox have to? Because Xbox is now a publisher and wants to sell more software to keep its business running. Exactly. And they can't do it. Microsoft is no longer competing against Sony and Nintendo, and it no longer makes sense for Asha to keep pretending anything to the contrary. Exactly. 100% correct here. That's why AGN is highlighting good comments here. So she's getting called out for catering to dumb mentalities and for doing the hear you and playing and talking about exclusives like there was ever anything here. But you knew what was going to happen in that interview. You knew what was going to happen at that one game developer conference video that I showed you guys, when they made it quite clear what's going on. And Matt Booty said that multiple times before that. And then he comes out and says it again. Phil Spencer's been telling people that. Satya said what he wanted to say. He has no love for exclusives. We have no mascots or identity when it comes to that. So it's like it was always there. And then everybody was trying to push that. And then now there's this crying from the leftover Xbox fanboy base that kind of like wanted to imagine that because they cried a lot that they were going to make exclusives come back and kill the publishing. And then it's going to be like, oh, God. Now you did that. And they don't even realize what they're asking for. It's like everything you're doing is asking for Xbox to actually be destroyed even more. Because what you want is not possible anymore for this generation. It's over. And you just have to accept that reality and find out what is best for you. And that is publishing and advertising on other platforms because you're putting your stuff on their markets and getting Game Pass to be somewhat attractive and get it up to the 30 million sell bracket. But do you think they're going to share anything with you? They hide everything from you. Where's that at? Do you see it? No. You're not going to get anything from them except what they want to show, like all this little stuff right here. And it's going to be not much. Whereas Nintendo just shows everything. And Sony shows a lot more than Xbox. Who's the most honest, open, and transparent? Nintendo is, of course. Sony shares a good amount too, but they don't share as much as they used to. I wish they would do that. Just put everything out there. Because then you can see how things are really going and what you need to improve and how you need to adjust. That's just honest, transparent adjustment, which is needed in business. How do I know how much I need to improve if I can't see everything the correct way? I need to see everything so I can see what's really going on to fully adjust the most way, honestly. And that's the problem with the Xbox world, is that that's not what happened. So that's when you realize it was a big problem. And it still is a problem. Still going on. That parasocial behavior, yeah, of course. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Become a member if you want. Leave a comment down below as usual. You know, like, comment, subscribe, hit that like button. And let me know what you guys think. This is the type of stuff that has to be talked about because as they consistently do this, I have to consistently combat it to move it into the right bracket. Later, y'all. Keep on gaming.